Welcome to the Blue Atlas Trade Show Marketing Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Trade Show Marketing Podcast. And today we're talking about automated follow-up techniques to nurture your trade show leads post-show. I've got a few key points for you of how you can really increase your effectiveness of following up after the show. And I've got some action items for you that you can start putting into action right now. So let's get started. First, let's talk about setting up an automated follow-up system. A lot of B2B companies don't have these type of things in place. They have a CRM in place, but they don't have a way to automatically follow up. There are tools that can be built into your CRM. Say if you have Salesforce, there's things like Pardot and things that Salesforce can integrate with. There's tools I like to recommend, ActiveCampaign, because it has a very robust marketing automation interface and a fairly simplistic CRM if you don't need anything too overkill. But there's a whole lot of marketing automation tools out there. There's some simple ones, there's some more advanced ones, but ultimately you want a tool that will allow you to set up tracks of automation that basically have logic in it. Like if this happens, do these two things, because you don't want to just inundate people with a series of emails. There's a lot of autoresponders, for instance, that if you just dump them in and say, run my autoresponder, it sends them 7 emails over, whatever period you set it up. I want you to have automation that can do something based on how that the user and the email reader responds. If somebody opens it and clicks a link, maybe you provide different emails and different information after that. If they don't do anything at all, you don't need to share that information because they still haven't opened the first one. And then maybe you're tracking the people that do open and increase a lead score. And after so many clicks through your automation, their lead score is high enough that now is what your salespeople are going to focus on. So finding your automation tool, there's lots of tools. You probably have something in place already that can integrate with it. If not, find something like ActiveCampaign, something that has robust automation opportunity and systems in place that allow you to be robust in your automation, and primarily something that gives you the logic where you can say, if this happens, do this. If that doesn't happen, do something different. Now, how do you use that automated follow-up system? Once you have that system in place, you want to start building out sequences that allow you to send those emails automatically. More times than not, you're going to have some type of interface where maybe you have a pile of business cards, they're going to be manually entered. You probably dump them into, say, a spreadsheet, and you're going to put them into this interface, and you're going to have a trigger at that point. Other things, if they're integrated better, let's say you have a lead magnet with a form on it, and somebody's downloading something from your website, for instance, that form is going to feed them right into the system, and that automated sequence is going to start immediately. So as you build out these sequences, do think about how you're going to get them in and what flow that you want that to happen in. If you're going to be dumping in business cards, you might want to wait a few days afterwards, but you know that that's what the process is going to be. So make sure the emails actually follows and make sense to how you're going to get them in, when they're getting in, and what you're communicating with them. These email sequences, they can be as long or short as you want them to be. I would recommend at least a 5 to 7 email sequence. A lot of people that you get from a contact standpoint, if it is a business card, unless it's a really, really hot lead. If it is, it's probably not going into this. Your salespeople are already taken that. You already have, say, a follow-up meeting scheduled. They're probably not going into that. The people that are going into these automation sequences have seen a lot of booths. They did probably a lot of drinks, a lot of happy hours, a lot of food, a lot of promo items, a lot of hotel, and a lot of traveling. There's a whole lot for them to forget about you. So you kind of have to ramp them back up with your follow-up, especially if you know this list is very... There wasn't a lot of connection at the show. They said they just came by, you scanned their business card or their badge, you got their information, but you didn't really, most of these people just kind of came by and grabbed a promo item and went on. You want to ramp them back up with this automation sequence that you have. So consider that in the emails as you get started with the sequence. Those emails need to remind them who you are. You saw them at the trade show. This is what if you can, maybe this is what we talked about, at least the product and service that you were showing at the trade show. Give them something to remind them who you are. If you are going to brand these, make sure they're branded consistent with what they saw at the trade show, so they can continue to connect the dots of, oh, yeah, I remember that booth. I talked to so-and-so, or yeah, I did pick up a brochure from them. It might be sitting on their desk. Remind them that you are. All right, that takes us to number 2, personalizing the follow-up messages. There's a couple of ways that you can do some personalization. There's obviously the one-to-one, where you just put it in, even with the automated sequences that you're putting together. You can send out emails very specific using their name, company name, URL, those kind of things. You can get very, very personal with it. But that might be hard for you to build out emails that get personal enough to make that worth it. But what you can do is at least start segmenting your contacts for various things. Maybe they talked about, say you have 3 products or services that you're really promoting at the trade show. You might divide that up into the 3 what did y'all really talk about? Maybe that's on the back of the business card. Maybe there's the landing page is segmented that way. So your leads that are coming in from that, they scanned the QR code, they filled out a form. Maybe there's something on that can help segment. And you can do that with your form. Maybe there's a checkbox, products interested in, and that would allow you to segment those. But segmented based on something that's very unique to them. That way your messaging can be more personalized. It doesn't just sound, hey, saw you at the trade show. Can we talk about what? Saw you at the trade show, you picked up a brochure on so-and-so, or you filled out our form, you worked with our calculator, for instance, and we're looking at some estimates for this. We'd love to help you with that estimate. Here's some additional resources that go along with that. That starts to feel a little bit more personal than just a, hey, saw you at the trade show, can we try to sell you something, kind of email. So find ways to personalize and craft messages that are going to resonate with the different audience segments. So you very likely will have multiple automation tracks. You'll have maybe one for each product and service. Maybe it's a different day. Maybe it's a speaking event that you did. Maybe you gathered some information for everybody that showed up at a speaking opportunity that you had. Maybe it's a happy hour or a sponsored event that you hosted or sponsored and were able to get that contact information. There's lots of ways to segment it. And ultimately what you're just trying to do here is remind people that you did have some type of connection with them. There's a reason why you're reaching out to them, not just you picked up their business card laying on the ground. Remind them how they connected with you in some kind of way. Even if you were just a sponsor, remind them you were the sponsor and you look forward to working with people at the trade show, that kind of thing. But some way use things that you know about them or interactions that you had to create specific segments so that your automation is more personal. All right. Now, number 3, evaluating your follow-up effectiveness. There's all kinds of ways that you can measure and have put metrics in place to see what's working best. The most obvious are open rates and click rates and ultimately conversions from it. Those I always recommend being some of those metrics that you utilize because you want to know, are the emails that you're sending, are they getting opened? Are people actually clicking and doing anything with it? Is it leading to business? And you might have to connect the dots with some of your other interfaces. So maybe your different CRM, if you're using an automation platform that's separate from that. But definitely utilize a way to track all of that all the way from trade show to conversion so you can see how effective it was. Your email open rates are going to be very useful in figuring out, are the subject lines right? Your click-through rates are going to be useful to see, well, they opened it, but did they do anything with it? Did they forward it to anybody? What did they do to be able to, with that email, what kind of engagement you had? Basically, that's an engagement rate that you can also measure. How many phone calls did you book? You really, at the end of the day, metrics that are important to you in your sales process, I would think that you already have some type of metric or system for tracking your results in place for general marketing purposes. Your trade show doesn't have to be anything different. Make sure the metrics that you're tracking fit in with that, but also be aware that the metrics for this are going to be related to the trade show and trade show activities. Which the whole process of getting leads from a trade show is first they need to know that you exist, maybe see you at the booth, know that you're something for them, and now they become a prospect. So use some of those type of things for your metrics so that you can see from one piece to the next maybe where the fall off was. Like, hey, we had a bunch of people open our email, but no one actually clicked on anything. At least you know that you're reaching people. You just need to optimize the email to get them to click more. Or, hey, everybody's clicking, so people were interested in it, but whatever we said next, we're not getting any calls. We're not getting any conversions. Where's the drop off from there? If you don't track any of this, you'll just kind of end up at the end of the trade show and go, man, we did a whole bunch of stuff. We did all of this pre-show marketing. We did all this stuff at the show. We did all these automation and we didn't get anything from it. All this was a flop. That may not be the case. There may be a breakdown somewhere in the process. And that's why tracking and analyzing all that data with some type of metrics will help you identify where the issue is. Then once you have all that data and those metrics in place, tweak it and improve it. Do it as you go, following this show, but also keep in mind that a lot of things that happen at trade shows, especially for B2B sectors, a lot of that happens from year to year. There may be a long sales process and they see you one year and go, man, maybe I'll talk to them. Have a little bit of a conversation, but there's no movement. Or even if there is, it still takes maybe 12 months before you actually really see anything happen. At the trade show the next year is when they actually become a real qualified prospect and somebody really ready to make a move with you. So track everything that you're doing this year for improvement for the following year. But a lot of times you can improve those automation sequences from one email to the next. In your first email, no one opened it. All right, let's see what happens on email number 2. Nothing happened there. Immediately you probably should jump in and make some adjustments for emails 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So try to make adjustments because you have metrics and tracking things in place. Make those adjustments as soon as you possibly can, but also keep them in mind for the following year. So let's recap about automated follow-up techniques to help nurture leads post-show. First, set up the automated follow-up system. Email sequences that provide the right type of engagement and the right type of follow-up to the audience based on the fact that they were at the trade show. Try to be more specific than general so that you get people's attention. Everyone they saw, everyone that got their business card is following up with them. So you're having to fight through a lot more clutter than just normal email and probably a lot of emails that were piling up from them going to the trade show. So you do have a lot of competition to get it opened. So establish these automated follow-ups and extend them out pretty far so that you've got a lot of emails that continue to go. 1 or 2 emails after the fact is usually what most companies do, especially sales teams. You go, all right, I sent 2 emails, they didn't respond. That were bad leads. Let's move on. They may just be inundated with everything. So maybe extend that automated follow-up sequence. Number 2, personalize the follow-up messages. Try to segment your audience so that you can talk about things that are very specific to them. So when they do open an email, they go, oh yeah, they're talking about me. They're not just talking about everybody they met. No, they remember this conversation or they know about that I was at that particular event. They're thanking me for coming to the happy hour that they sponsored. There's kind of things to personalize and create a quick relationship. And in those messages, you want to remind them who you are so they can get ramped back up to why they're even listening and opening your emails in the first place. And in number 3, make sure you're evaluating the follow-up effectiveness so you can make adjustments as quickly as possible and make this as most effective as possible from one year to the next. All of these things contribute to positive ROI for a trade show. So many B2B companies really drop the ball on a lot of just doing this altogether. I'm trying to give you techniques to help improve it as you do it, but just doing this is a much better first step than so many companies that visit trade shows and exhibit at trade shows. They feel like that's the step. That's just the vehicle for your pre-show marketing, your during show marketing, and your post-show marketing. So implement these 3 things. You'll be 1,000 times ahead of your competition, and you'll start seeing much more positive results in ROI from your trade show marketing. All right, here's your action items for today. 1, research and select an automation tool that will work with your current system so it's not too new for you, and set up a basic follow-up sequence. Get in, get it ready, have your marketing team or you, if you're the marketing team that's going to be setting these things up, get in and play with the automation sequence. You might find that you're really happy with this tool and start integrating those automation sequences in other forms of marketing or just general follow-up, but definitely get in and play with it and get comfortable with it so you can start planning a basic sequence for your trade show. Next, segment all of your trade show leads based on their interests and behaviors. Look if it's a show that you've already been to, look back at the previous show. How can we segment these users? Everybody that came by, can we segment by day? Can we segment by product or service they were interested in? Can we segment by what they look like? Maybe there's a big company, small company, certain industries, certain job roles. There are lots of ways that you can segment this to make your follow-up personal, which is why you're doing this step. And lastly, define those key performance indicators, those KPIs, to help you evaluate the effectiveness of your follow-up efforts. What is going to tell you what's working and what's not? What do you want to know? There's the obvious one of, did we get business? Everyone should be tracking that, and that you want to know. But you can start tracking that backwards of, well, how many calls did we get? How many sales proposals did we put out? How many people were engaged? From that, how many were engaged? How many leads did we actually create in the first place? Establish your KPIs long before you start getting to the show so that you know what you're targeting. That's going to help you with your automation sequences. Thanks for joining us today as we talked about automated follow-up techniques here on the Trade Show Marketing Podcast. My name is Nate Stockard, and I'll see you next time.